Hallo, ek is E.T. Welkom by my kanaal waar ons als saam doen. Trappe van vergelyking. Those are the Afrikaans words for degrees of comparison, and it is what I will teach you all about in this video. It is one of the more complex topics in Afrikaans grammar, along with something like Afrikaans plural formation. But don't worry, I will try and make it as accessible to you as possible. Let's start with what I think is the most common way to form degrees of comparison in Afrikaans. Step 1 and step 3, for the most part, remain the same throughout all of the degrees of comparisons. It's step 2 that changes from the one way to the next to form degrees of comparison. Also, keep in mind that the rules that I give at the bottom of the screen, those rules in this clip and the next are mine. Yes, the rules themselves apply, but we don't get the rules as in this video in textbooks in Afrikaans. I group them in a way that I hope would be easiest for the audience to understand and memorize and make it the most simple for you to learn the degrees of comparison. So that is my rules. But the grammar rules still apply. Nothing's changed there. So this way of forming trappe van vergelyking, this way applies to the following. Words ending in double consonants, words ending in tweeklanke, and words ending in lik, L-I-K. Words ending in u or I plus a consonant, except for the letters F and G, which have their own ways to form trappe van vergelyking. And of course, there are exceptions. So step 1 would be your base word, which is the most simple form of the word, your base word or base form. And then step 2 is usually where the change happens. In this case, you just add ER to the back of the word. Step 3, you just add STE to the back of the word, which is the case in many degrees of comparison, except for a few. Let's quickly go through the examples. Rond, ronder, rondste. And erg, erger, ergste. So also here they erg, but when you do step 2, it's erger. Erg, erger, and then again ergste. Oulik, ouliker, oulikste. And lelik, leliker, lelikste. Fraai, fraaier, fraaiste. And mooi, mooier, mooiste. Pink, pinker, pinkste. Slank, slanker, slankste. Rou, rouwer, rouste. Getrou, getrouwer, getrouwste. Diep, dieper, diepste. And the first exception, we have lank, but then when you change it, you don't say lanker. It's the one word where you say langer, langste. So the K is only in the initial base form, but then it changes to a G. This is not the case with all words that end on NK. It's the case specifically for lank. So it's lank, langer, langste. Another exception, we have naby, and that one does not change to nabyer. It changes to nader, and then from nader, it changes to naaste. And there's no rhyme or reason for this. You simply have to learn this one. We move on to the next bunch of changes, and these ones apply to words ending in a kort klank, like a short sound, plus a consonant. And and of course except F and G, which again have their own little thing going on. So again, it's just the base form, the base word in step 1. Step 2 is different now from the previous clip. Step 2 is now times 2 plus ER. The times 2 means you time the consonant times 2. So the last letter times 2. All of these short sound words that end on a consonant after the short sound, you double the consonant and then you add ER. And then again, step 3 is the same. You just add st to the end of the initial base word. Vet, vetter, vetste. Dik, dikker, dikste. Words ending in the kortklanke or the short sounds plus ch. Right, so the first step again is just the base form or the base word. Second step though is plus ter, T-E-R, ter. And then step 3 again is just plus ste. Lig, ligter, ligste. Sleg, slegter, slegste. For words ending in langklanke and a consonant, except for the consonants F and R, also not words ending on ut. So it's a mouthful. The change for those are step 1, base form, step 2, minus 1, plus ER, and step 3, just add st. The minus 1 means you take away one of the langklanke. So if it's a double A, you take you take away one A. If it's a double O, you take away one O. Kaal, kaler, kaalste. Vroom, vromer, vroomste. Geel, geeler, geelste. Skoon, skooner, skoonste. Words ending in R, oor, uur, eer, and R. Okay, it's been a long day. Step 1 is just the base form. Step 2 is plus der. So we pronounce that as der. And then the last one again is just plus ste. Lekker, lekkerder, lekkerste. Ver, verder, verste. Maar, maarder, maarste. Gaar, gaarder, gaarste. Suur, suurder, suurste. And lastly, duur, duurder, duurste. Okay, so here we have a whole situation going on. For the words ending in ach, oog, and eeg, they all have different changes in step 2, which makes this a tiny bit of a headache, but I think with the help of this video, you can definitely conquer this situation. So let's look at ach. Again, step 1 for all of these and step 3 are exactly the same. So step 1 is the base form and step 3 is just plus ste. But for ach, step 2 is minus ach. So take away a and ch plus r or er. Right, then for eeg, your step 2 is minus e plus r. So it's the doikie e. So you take ach away or ech away and you add doikie e plus r. Right, and then for oog, step 2 is minus och plus, again, doikie e and r. Now, I didn't add that many examples because there simply aren't that many examples. These words are not plentiful in Afrikaans. There are a few, and there are a few that you please must not make the mistake of misspelling, because then they mean something that you don't want to say in public, right? So, and I'll tell you now. So with these spellings, you have to make sure that you do them correctly. The first one, laag, then laar, and then laagste. That one's fine. Leeg, leer, leegste. Also fine. And then we have hoog, hoer, and hoogste. Now, hoog means high, hoer means higher, and hoogste means highest. But if you misspell the word hoer and you write hoer without the doetjie e, and you simply write a normal doetjie e, it becomes the word hoer. And the word hoer means whore. So you really don't want to misspell that, because what often happens, and it does provide us with a lot of laughter, is people misspell the word hoërskool, which means high school. And then they write hoërskool, which obviously is translated to whore school, which of course, when we were young, was just hysterical. And it remains funny because don't. So, anyway, just remember that one. Words ending in langklanke and an F after that, and also words ending in ut. Base form again, step 1. Step 2, however, you take away the F and the consonant just before it. So if there's an E before the F, then you take away EF. And you'll see there, so it's minus EF or AF or OF or UT. Very specific, because we don't have words ending in UF in Afrikaans. So there are no WF words in Afrikaans that have degrees of comparison, right? So, and then you add ver. W-E-R. So it's minus the consonant and F or the U and a T. And then you add W-E-R, which we pronounce ver. And then again, step 3 is just addste. Skeef, skewer, skeefste. Gaaf, gawer, gaafste. Niet, nuwer, nietste. And doof, dover, doofste. Now we have words ending in kortklanke and an F. So this one again, step 1, base form. Step 2, minus the F, and now you add W, W-E-R. So the F changes to a W. And then the last one is just addste. Rof, rover, rofste. And laf, lover, lafste. On the far right, we have a word that I spoke about in my Afrikaans live, which is the word af. Now, af usually, and for the most part, means down. And a lot of things related to down and the direction as a preposition, down. But we have adopted it from English to mean off, as in something is off. Iets is off, or we also use it to refer to when we are feeling down. We say ek voel, I feel off. Ek voel off. Iets is off. When somebody asks you today, how are you feeling? You'll say, ek voel 'n bietjie off. I feel a little off. It's a generalized description of how you're feeling, mostly said when you don't really know how you're feeling. You just feel like something is a bit wrong, but you don't know exactly what's wrong. You can't really say is it emotional or physical, or if you know it's emotional, you can't really pinpoint the emotion, but you want to tell somebody that you aren't feeling okay. So you will say, ek voel af. Now, this has been adopted by Afrikaans from English. And so we call that an anglicisme. An anglicisme, right? A word taken directly from English and used in Afrikaans in a way that it is not originally Afrikaans. And because of that, the word off, in this context of feeling off or something being off, does not have original Afrikaans degrees of comparison. However, because we use it so much these days, and because we've adopted the word, we now make up degrees of comparison for it that you don't find in the dictionaries. They might be in the very modern dictionaries if it's there. But then people don't agree on what the degrees of comparison for it must be because it is an Anglicisme and it's not really Afrikaans in the way we use it. So you have two options. You have the first option there on the far right, off, and then you go offer. And unlike the other words that end in F, you will not say over, you will say offer. So it is an exception in itself. And then you will say ofster. So off, offer, ofster. If you want to use it in that way about feeling off, something is off, right? Your other option is the option we're going to look at later in this video as well, where you have off, then you have meer off, which is more off. And then the last one, mees off, which is most off. You will see that when you use meer and mees, the word after that does not change shape, ever. And I will look at this again. When you use meer and mees to form degrees of comparison in Afrikaans, the word that follows remains the base form. People use it incorrectly on a daily basis. People change the base form after the meer and after the mees. And it's Afrikaans people and they speak that way. And it is incorrect every time. Muf, muver, mufste, and suf, suver, sufste. Words ending on two-letter short sounds, which is basically I plus a F, and words ending in the tweeklanke plus a F, which basically is just the long A and an F. So basically you have if and eif, words ending in those two. They have in step 1 the base form, then in step 2 you take away the F and you add ver, and then step 3 is just plus ste. Styf, styver, styfste. Lief, liever, liefste. Words ending in oat. Step 1, you know by now. Step 2, take away the D minus D plus or ER. And step 3, you also know by now. Oud, ouer, oudste. Koud, kouer, koudste. And then a special one which really doesn't follow anything, and so you just really have to learn it. Kwaad, kwaader, kwaadste. So you'll see that one of the A's fall away, and in the place of the D, there's a T, and then you add So kwaad, kwaader, kwaadste. Learn that one. And another one, which is a standalone situation, baie, which means a lot. And then it goes from baie to a completely different word, which is meer, which means more. And then the last one, meeste, which means most. Also just learn this one. We have arrived at the last one, and that is how to use meer and mees to form Afrikaans degrees of comparison. I know many people have questions about this, and there is some confusion about this on when and how to use them. So today I will teach you exactly when and how. First off, it is for polysyllabic words. That means words that have more than one syllable. Now, it does not always apply to all of them. It applies to many or most of them. But some polysyllabic words in Afrikaans do in fact have another form. And I will show you those as well, that you can change, like some of the other degrees of comparison, adding a and adding a st. But in those cases, you can use there one change with the or the st, or you can opt to just use meer and mees. Both are acceptable. So what I also always tell people, when in doubt, just use the meer and mees form when it's polysyllabic words, and it's fine. It's acceptable. It's grammatically correct. It's not incorrect. You are allowed to do that. So just remember. And then the other thing is adjectives and adverbs that are based off of or formed from verbs, Afrikaans verbs. Those also use the meer and mees to form degrees of comparison. So, step 1, base word, base form. Nice and easy. Step 2, use this meer, which is more, and then the base word still. You will always use the base word when using meer and mees. Please do not do what a lot of people do, even on radio, even on the news, where they use meer and then they use the other form of Let's say we look at a word like belangrik, which is the word for important. They'll say belangrik, then they should say belangriker, but they don't do that. They say meer belangriker. That is incorrect. You cannot say meer and the other form, belangriker. You have to say meer belangrik. Still the base form. And then step 3, mees belangrik. Still just the base form, not mees belangrikste. That is incorrect. Polysyllabic words that have 2 ways to form degrees of comparison. You can either go meer and mees, or you can go with and st. So let's look at the words. The first one, energiek, which means energetic. And I would say go for meer energiek and mees energiek, just because that sounds better, and that's the one we mostly use when we speak. It does have a very legitimate energieker and energiekste, but we don't really speak that way. Choice is up to you. Then nieuwsgierig or nieuwsgierig, which is curious. And we have nieuwsgieriger and nieuwsgierigste. You can also go for meer nieuwsgierig and mees nieuwsgierig. Your choice. Oplettend. This is a word derived from the Afrikaans verb oplet. And it's also polysyllabic. So 2 for 2. Meer oplettend and mees oplettend. So you see, nothing changes in the word. It stays the base form throughout. It's just meer and mees that you add. The one at the bottom is beskeie, which you can say was derived from the verb skei, and it's also polysyllabic. Meer beskeie and mees beskeie. Here we have a word that is just polysyllabic, not derived from a verb, tevrede. And this one becomes meer tevrede and mees tevrede. Hardwerkend. Now, it was derived from the word werk, which is the Afrikaans word for work, and it is also polysyllabic. And this one is meer hardwerkend and mees hardwerkend. We have made it to the end of degrees of comparison. Trappe van vergelijking. Trappe can mean steps or stairs in Afrikaans. And then van vergelijking is of comparison. So we don't say degrees of comparison. We say stairs or steps of comparison. I think rather steps of comparison. I hope this video has clarified a few things for you. If you have any questions about this topic, please let me know in the comment section. If you have suggestions or other requests, also please let me know. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Tot ziens.